Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. We're your hosts, Calvin Timms and Dale. Dynasty Dale. Find us over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin and at Dynasty_Dale. And thank you guys for coming back. Today we're going to be breaking down our final rookie rankings for the wide receiver and the tight end position. And I think we're going to be giving you guys later this week either a rookie mock draft or a rookie mock draft recap, where we're going over a real life draft that happened in one of our leagues. So we're still working that out, but that'll be coming out on Thursday. So make sure you guys stay tuned there. And I just want to point out, at the start of the podcast, we are starting to ramp down some of the content a little bit, going 4 to 5 days a week for couple months was a little grueling, but past the draft now, and then we're really into the off season now. So there's not a ton of content that's happening right now. There's not a lot of news. It's all training camps, injuries, things like that, whenever you're able to get that information. But if you're not able to get it, then there's really not much to talk about. So we're going to be talking about players and values and whatever the fantasy community really overreacts to all off season long. But we are going to start to ramp down to maybe 2 episodes a week until we get to the regular season. In season, we might be doing 1 or 2. Maybe we'll give a little bit more redraft content. We'll see how that kind of goes. And then after the 2023 season, after week 17 concludes over there, we'll pick it back up to 4 days a week, and we'll be back in the full swing until the NFL draft. So just giving you guys a little bit of an update on our schedule moving forward so that it's a little bit more predictable. But yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays we'll be coming out with new content until the NFL season. All that said, Dale, how are we doing today?
Really, really good. Exhausted, tired, but I am ready to talk about some rookies. I've been ready since the NFL draft and can't wait to dissect them.
Yeah, you weren't here. So if you guys missed it for the quarterbacks and running backs, I was the one that had to put out Dale's rankings for him, picking up the slack. No, in reality, Dale was just super, super busy with his play. So that's finally coming to a close. And man, I got to say, in a lot of the rookie drafts, the running back rankings have been wildly different from what you and I both have them. So there's a lot of value to be had right now in your rookie drafts, and hopefully you guys are using what we're giving you guys in your rookie drafts, because man alive, we just did a draft, Dale and I did, where we got Will Levis at 2.5 in a rookie draft, and then Kendre Miller at 2.7 in the same draft.
Yeah.
So, you'll love to see that. We don't even love Will Levis, but at 2.5 in a super flex, that's hard to pass up, right? So
it's fantastic value for him.
And Kendre Miller is my running back 3, man. Like, he's my RB3 at 2.7.
No,
That
I
is,
love it.
oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's pick 19 overall. You're saying 19 players over your running back 3? Get out of here. Get out of here. All right, so today we're going to break down we're going to start with our wide receivers. Going to be talking about guys basically that we would only be willing to take in the top 3 rounds of your rookie drafts. And I got to say, I talked about this a little bit with the quarterbacks and the running backs, but I feel really good about, about 25 to 28 guys in this draft class. There's not all, there's the superstars, the top 9 guys I would say are a little bit of a different tier. That's where you get all your your top running backs, quarterbacks, receivers up there. Next couple guys is pretty uniform right now, but there's good value there. And then in the second round, it's just a best man win, whoever the variance in the second round is just absolutely wild. And I love all of the guys there. I'm not sad about any of those picks. When you're getting, Josh Downs at 212, you can't complain about that. So you'll love to see that. And hopefully we'll be able to break down some of these guys here today. So Dale, who are you going to start us off with your number 1 guy?
receiver is still Jackson Smith and Jigba. Um, I love Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he is the guy, and he is the obvious number one. Um, I know in redrafts, especially, he probably is not your number one rookie wide receiver, but we are a dynasty podcast, so he's my dynasty guy. I love him, and he is going to be fantastic in Seattle. So I I love him. I'm going to pick him up everywhere I can, and can't wait to be all aboard the JSN train.
Yeah. So who else do you have? So JSN's your number one. How many do you have in your number one tier?
Yeah. In my tier one, I have JSN, and then I also have Jordan Addison as well.
Okay.
And I feel the landing spot for him is spectacular.
I
Uh,
yes.
it's a great landing spot for him, and I think he's going to be be in a lot of positive matchups with being across from Justin Jefferson, and then he has T.J. Hawkinson, who's going to kind of help take up some space and some defenders. So I think Jordan Addison is going to be in line for a a great fantasy potential.
Yeah, I agree. And this is where we differ a little bit. So I have JSN number one, Quentin Johnston number two, and Jordan Addison number three, all in the same tier. I'm happy getting any of these three guys. I still, I in the recap video, if you guys watch that, I did, my early reaction to Jordan Addison was super high. Like I bumped him up to number one. And after thinking it through a little bit more and, calming down a little bit, I did ultimately move him to number three where I had him before, but he belongs with these other two guys. I personally prefer Quentin Johnston a little bit more. Now, Jordan Addison's going to have more upside in year one, more than likely. He's going to instantly be the number three
Absolutely.
option in this offense. But we can't forget, Quentin Johnston, one, he went ahead of Jordan Addison. Two, he went to a team with Keenan Allen, who missed 11 games last year with a hamstring injury, and Mike Williams, who is banged up every other play, it feels like. So he's going to have a lot of opportunity in year one. They don't really have a tight end, but they do have Austin Eckler still. So, at worst, Quentin Johnston's going to be the number four target on this team in year one. At best, he could be easily the number three or the number two, depending on injuries to all these other guys. And, the other reason why I have him a little bit ahead of Jordan Addison personally, just I would take him if he was available first, which we did in one of our leagues, is because he's tied to Justin Herbert for the foreseeable future. And I love Kirk Cousins. I've been a big Kirk Cousins stan for a long time now, but all the smoke around Minnesota wanting to get rid of Kirk Cousins for years. These guys don't even appreciate when they have a great
Right.
quarterback. And the fact that they continue to talk about wanting to get rid of Kirk Cousins, if they move on from Kirk, that makes me very nervous for someone like a Jordan Addison because Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback and he's one of the most accurate deep ball throwers in the entire NFL. So, Jordan Addison's going to eat with Kirk Cousins. Is he going to if they go on to, somebody else? Who knows who else would be there? So, that's the only reason why the longevity and the ceiling upside, I think Quentin Johnston has him beat. So I'd be willing to take him above him. But yes, I agree with all three of these guys. They're all studs. JSN, don't worry about the landing spot too much. I think he's gonna feast over there in Seattle
He
long
will.
term.
He will. Yeah. I think the biggest thing with Quentin Johnson I'm worried about is I think I know he got docked for this a lot in the pre-draft hype of him just being a and not sure how much separation I know he's fast,
Right.
and he's quick, but almost everybody in the NFL is quick and
True.
fast. So,
Sure.
but like, um, I just don't know how crap it's going to be, and if and I'm just worried he's going to end up having brick hands and just not play. That's just my concern.
Sure.
I understand the landing spot is fantastic with Justin Herbert, and I am extremely excited about that for him. But I actually have him as my wide receiver four in tier two,
Okay.
right behind Zay Flowers, which I know Zay
All
Flowers
right.
is not your guy. and
No, he's not.
that is perfectly okay. But I love the lane for Zay Flowers.
Sure.
I think he fits perfect in the Baltimore scheme.
Mhm.
He's crafty. He's a hard worker, and he's really gonna work hard in that Todd Monken offense. And they're
Mhm.
gonna be a little bit more pass. I understand that. I do understand that Lamar's still gonna feast and do his thing on the ground, but I think they're gonna scheme a lot of plays, a lot of like sweeps and end rounds and all these kind of gadgety plays for Zay Flowers, because
Mhm.
he is that guy,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think I mean he is more of the slot guy compared to Bateman or OBJ, so that's why I'm really excited about Flowers. I do get that people will probably pick him fourth out of these wide receivers, and I get it, but I
Sure.
think I just like him over Quentin John.
Fair enough. Do you have anybody else in your tier 2 then?
Only 2 guys in
Okay.
my tier 2.
All right. So you have JSN, Jordan Addison, tier 1, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnson in tier 2. I
Yep.
actually have a little bit of a different tier 2 here, and I only have 2 guys as well. So in my tier 2, I have Marvin Mims and Zay Flowers. And Marvin Mims, I was rising on him pre-draft. He was my, post combine. He was my number 9 wide receiver. Jumps up to number 4 here. And here's the reason why. He was taken in the second round by Sean Payton. Sean Payton handpicked this guy. There were other guys on the board that he could have gone with, and he took Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims at Oklahoma was extremely productive. The only problem with Marvin Mims is he's a little small, right? He's 5'11, 183. He can bulk up a little bit, but he's not that small. He's not short, right? He's a little bit smaller than the OBJs and those type of players. He's not much smaller though than a CeeDee Lamb, who's also from Oklahoma, for example. But Marvin Mims, yes, he played a lot of deep routes. That's all they asked him to do over there in Oklahoma. But I do believe that he has a little bit more. And the fact that Sean Payton wanted to go get this guy means he's going to feature him in this offense. I think that Marvin Mims is going to come in. He's going to replace someone like a Cortland Sutton. I think they're going to try and ultimately keep a Jerry Jeudy and move on from Cortland Sutton in season or in training camp. And I think Marvin Mims is going to be the guy. And when you look at it, it's Russell Wilson. Yeah, he was bad last year. We all heard the narrative. But if he's bad again, they're going to move on from him. And if they move on from him, you still got Sean Payton. And I believe in Sean Payton more than I believe in Russell Wilson. And here's the thing. The reason why I have him one spot ahead of Zay Flowers, who I have at 5, he's the other player in my tier 2 here, is because I like Lamar Jackson. I really do. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think that Zay Flowers is the type of wide receiver that works well with his skill set, at least as far as we've seen in the NFL. And I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson can't do it, that he can't feature a guy like Zay Flowers, but when you look at the way that Lamar Jackson targets the field, he doesn't really target the outsides. And maybe that's going to play well into like a Zay Flowers because he's so shifty and he can get open in the middle of the field. But I'm just a little concerned because he is a little bit smaller, right? He's going to get lost in the shuffle where you have someone like a Rashad Bateman, who's a bigger body, 6'1", 6'2", and he's a little bit beefier, 204, I believe. And yeah, he's going to be a better match with someone like Rashad or Lamar Jackson. I
Yeah.
blanked on his
Yeah.
name for a second. Then you look at the other options in this offense, right? You got Mark Andrews. He's going to be the number 1 option regardless, no matter what. I think Bateman's going to be the number 2, and then I think OBJ is going to be the number 3. So Zay Flowers is going to come in and be the number 4 option. Maybe he can beat out an OBJ. Maybe he can beat out a Rashad Bateman. But again, that's a long shot compared to some of the other guys. Whereas Marvin Mims, all he has to do is beat out Cortland Sutton, who has been bad for like 3 years. There's really no competition really for Marvin Mims, and then you pair him with an amazing offensive coordinator like Sean Payton. To me, it's just it's just too much good to be had in Marvin Mims. That's the only thing. I get it. People are going to be
Yeah.
taking Zay Flowers higher, but I believe that Marvin Mims is going to outproduce from a fantasy perspective than Zay Flowers long term. I could be wrong, but let me hear your thoughts on Mims here.
I hear your Flowers talk, and I will challenge Hollywood Brown, who is a similar build, you know,
Different skill
to
sets, though. That's the difference.
I don't disagree with that, but I feel Flowers is still a first round wide receiver compared to Marvin Mims being a second round, and that has to that like I get it, but like we also don't always need to be cute with.
I get it, but I mean, look at
Yeah, I hear
who's the New England guy? I forget his name now. I forget
and Kill Harry.
and Keel Harry. He was a first rounder, right? And AJ Brown was a second rounder. I'm just saying that in terms of the NFL, I'm not going to let one round when it's a day one versus a day two. That's very minor. You know, if Marvin Mims was a fourth rounder and Zay Flowers was a first, okay, then we're talking. You know, but I just believe in the talent. I think Marvin Mims is a better wide receiver than Zay Flowers, just on the face of the two players. And then you go with Sean Payton.
Mm.
I think that we'll see. We'll see long term. You know, this is going to be a
I do like Marvin Mims.
sure.
Like I'm not gonna say
I like Zay
I have
Flowers.
Marvin.
I just like Mims a little
I
more.
do have Marvin Mims, my wide receiver 5. Um,
Nice.
but he's a tier down from Zay Flowers,
Fair enough. Fair
and
enough.
played. I mean, played at Oklahoma, and their offense is always wide open. It's always pass
Fair.
friendly. It's you know it's very offensive friendly. It is, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very wide receiver friendly. And we don't have the Oklahoma wide receivers in the league that have been super successful. I mean, maybe Hollywood Brown, but he gets injured every other play. It feels like
Where did Higgins play? Clemson, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yep, yeah. So, um, excuse me. So I feel how his style of play is going to translate. I do like Mims, and I think it's a fantastic landing spot, but I like Flowers. I think he's going to get used a lot more. Mims is still going to be shuffled depth chart too. So
Fair enough.
I would rather take I would rather take the better quarterback and the better, and they're probably going to have a better offense. Even though I love Sean Payton
Sure.
just as much as you,
I would
you
argue that
know, and
Russell
I
Wilson is the better quarterback in terms of quarterbacking, but you know, last year
but
he was bad. He was bad. I'm not saying that, but I do think that, you know, if Russell Wilson returns to form, and again, this is, you know, we're back to back here. It's very, very close.
it is.
We'll see. We will see. I can understand and I get it. I understand the Zay Flowers hype. I can see it, but I'm not bought into it. And, you know, if I'm not buying into it, like I said, I think Marvin Mims is a little bit better of a player. I think that he's just a little, you know, he's bigger. First off, I think he's quicker. I think he's faster than Zay Flowers is, and um, yeah, yeah, we will see. This is this is gonna be one where I'm either gonna
Yeah,
look like a genius or an idiot. So, so you have
yeah.
Marvin Mims in your tier three,
Yep.
right? Who else do you have in
Yes.
tier three?
I also have Jonathan Mingo,
Okay,
Jalen. Yeah, I got Jalen Hyatt and Josh Downs.
okay, all right, perfect.
Um,
I have two of those guys. So I have Josh Downs and Jonathan Mingo in my tier
yep.
three. The other guy I have in tier three, though, I have Cedric Tillman. So that's where we diverge a little
Oh.
bit here. All right, let's hear your breakdown on Mingo, and and I'm surprised you have Hyatt in tier three because I actually have him in
I
tier four.
I know, and
He's a
I
slot on a in a sea
I
of
know,
slots.
I know, and it's because he's just fast, and
He
I know
is.
people are
He
gonna
is.
draft him. You know, it's with Jonathan Mingo. I didn't really have him ranked anywhere.
I didn't either.
It's to be very honest, and I don't know what I missed, and I obviously missed. So
Kind of. A lot of
which is fine.
people,
So
a lot of the analytics community has come out and said this is a trap play, essentially. He's a big guy. That's kind of why the Carolina Panthers took him
Yeah,
where they did. I probably would have rather had Cedric Tillman, but they took Jonathan
yeah,
Mingo. Didn't have great production. He's from Ole Miss, if I remember right?
yeah.
So decent school for wide receivers last couple years, and yeah, I think that he was just a big body guy, decent production, decent school. So that's kind of why they took him. But I'm with you. I didn't really see it. A lot of the analytics
Mm-mm.
community said he's not really that good athletically,
Right.
production. So I do
Yeah.
have him
So
in tier
I-
3 here,
yeah,
but
yeah. I just have him up there because I know he's going to get that some target share.
sure.
I don't really trust that Adam Thielen's going to stay healthy a full 17 games. I'm not sure about I want to say Christian Kirk, but that's not who is
DJ
there.
Chark.
It is DJ Chark. I always mix those two up for whatever reason. I don't know why, but but Chark is there, but I still think Mingo is going to get a couple year shot at being a guy. I don't necessarily know if he is going to be the guy, but he's at least going to have that.
All right. Josh Downs, we both agree here. I
Hmm.
like the opportunity. Again, he's just a small
Yeah,
guy, and
yeah,
this team, it's going to be. This team's a rough one to kind of stat out fantasy
yes.
wise. You still have Pittman on the outside. You
Hmm.
have Alec Pierce on the outside, and then
Hmm.
Josh Downs exclusively in the slot for this team. I like it. I do. I think these guys are all very complimentary of each other. Problem is, you
Yeah,
got one of the least accurate quarterbacks, and as I like Anthony Richardson, but he's not going to be someone who's going to be completing, he's not going to be throwing for 5,000 yards, right? So
no, not
who's going
even
to be,
close.
I don't know if I trust any of these wide receivers, to be honest with you. Maybe one of these guys can break out long term, but I don't love that. I like the
No,
landing spot and I like the talent of Josh Downs, but it's hard to rely on that for fantasy. Um, so that's the one thing there. Any major Downs thoughts?
no, I agree with that. Like I really like Downs going in. I think it was a major downgrade with him going to Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
I would honestly be surprised if Richardson throws for 3,000 yards this year. To be perfectly honest, like I mean,
Yeah.
like his career track is, I guess people Lamar Jackson, but
Right.
Lamar Jackson is a far, far and away
Mm-hmm.
in college than Richardson ever probably will be. You know, and then for Lamar, like career high in yardage is like 36. Like
Yeah,
it's
with
not
like
this
45 touchdowns. So it was
right.
crazy. Crazy.
It was like 36 touchdowns one
Yeah.
year. Yeah, and I don't think Anthony Richardson's going to do that. Like he's going to be lucky to throw for 3,000
At
yards.
least early,
Like
right? For the
right, early.
foreseeable future, right? He can
Yes.
always develop and get better and everything, and that's where you're kind of investing a little bit in Josh Downs here. But yeah,
Yes.
yep, I'm with you
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So, I like the talent and I can see him being a guy that and dumps off to a lot
Hmm.
because he has to. He's running
Sure.
for his life and Josh Downs just gets open and
I don't
you
know. We'll
take it,
see
20.
if it'll be.
It's good. It's going to
Well,
be it's going to be very interesting. I do not want any
no.
I don't want any
Well,
I don't
JT.
yeah. 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 Him yes, but of the wide receiver,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
it's hard to trust any of them and I really wouldn't be shocked if like Pittman is there next year.
I'm
Shocked.
with you there. Actually, I'm with you.
But that's a
So
different story
yeah.
for a different podcast. So,
Yep. So yeah, so Josh Downs, like the talent, like the landing spot, a little nervous about the long term
mm,
fantasy production. Real quick, I'm going to talk about my guy that I have here, Cedric Tillman, in my tier 3. And the reason why I'm a little bit higher on Cedric Tillman is I think that this guy is the Amari Cooper replacement. And I think that, he's with the Cleveland Browns and they have a decent lineup. They've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Amari Cooper. They traded for what's his face? The Elijah Moore. Yeah, Elijah Moore from the Jets. So already they have their 3 wide receivers package set, right? So why draft Cedric Tillman? I think in the 3rd round is when they took him, which is pretty solid draft capital for a player like Tillman. I think it's because Amari Cooper, for whatever reason, the guy never talks, but he just does not get along well with front offices. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Raiders, now the Cowboys, and there's talk that Cleveland want to move on from Amari Cooper, but his salary cap is too high. The talent's still there. Like, Amari Cooper's really freaking good. Like, I just don't get it personally. Like, I don't understand it. So I think Cedric Tillman is the replacement. He's a bigger body possession wide receiver. What is Amari Cooper? A bigger body possession wide receiver. I think that long term, he's going to be a pivotal player for this offense. I still think that Deshaun Watson's going to get back to form eventually here this year.
Yeah.
He's not going to, I don't think Tillman's going to have much, if any, production this season. But next year, I think there's the potential for a massive spike, and that's what we're investing in here. So I'm just trying to get Cedric Tillman a little bit earlier than some of the next tier of guys, because I think that the ceiling for Cedric Tillman is much higher than the next tier guys, for me at least. So you can give me your Tillman thoughts and then explain why Jalen Hyatt's up here for you as well.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I actually forgot to rank about it.
Hey,
I
it
did. I
happens, man.
did.
It
I
happens.
did. And I threw him in at the top of my tier. Um, only because there's that injury history. He's not really going to produce a lot year 1, maybe not even year 2, and that can be really worrisome to a lot of dynasty managers.
Yep.
Um, so, I mean, I wouldn't invest like super, super, super highly in him, but I
So
do think he could be like a end of the second, beginning of third turn guy.
I was gonna say I've seen him going mid third a lot of the time, which is
Right?
great value in my opinion.
Yes,
Like, he's not
yes,
a second
yes.
round player, I don't think. I think there's just too much value at the other positions
Yeah.
in the second round. But yeah, if you can get him early mid third, I think that's
Mm.
great value
Oh
for
yes,
someone like
yes,
Cedric Tillman.
yes. 100%. But with Jalen Hyatt, I've been off this guy, but I think landed with a good guy with Brian Daboll, and I think Daboll, even though there's a sea of slot receivers there, there's like too many to count. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yep.
It's crazy, but I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to set himself apart, but I know he's fast enough to interesting. I mean, like he's fast, and Paris Campbell's still fast. Like I think
Yep.
Campbell ran faster than Hyatt did. If that means anything, it
Right.
doesn't. It does. It doesn't.
Right.
But it's gonna be interesting to see what the Giants do, and they didn't really. They honestly needed the big body wide receiver of Cedric Tillman
Right.
compared to a
I
Jalen
know.
Hyatt,
I
but
know.
but it is what it is. But I think Dayball's going to be early enough, and I do see that there is some potential there, but I think his ceiling, he's gonna have he's gonna have those boom bust games,
Yep. I'm with
and
you.
I do think Tillman probably long run is gonna be more steady, but I think if you get Hyatt in the right situation, he's gonna be
Yeah, and the other question on that is just Daniel Jones, right? Like, can he be a good quarterback? We have no idea. We have not seen it yet. So,
I don't know.
um, yeah, I think he's got the same number of interceptions and picks through his first 3 4 years. So it's not been
That sounds about right, but
eh,
also he's only had 1 year of Brian Daboll,
right.
and I
Yeah,
think I think he's made
exactly.
I think he's made him a better quarterback compared to
Yeah,
uh,
and
the
they had no
professionals
court
after
or
him.
they had no receivers last year either. All their guys got banged up, and yeah, it was just a little bit of a cluster there. So Jalen Hyatt is
Yeah.
actually the number one guy in my tier 4 here, and these are the last couple guys that I'd even be willing to take this highly.
Mhm.
It's kind of all over the board in the third round of your rookie drafts. But the other 2 guys that I'm really interested in, the one guy we're not really talking about is Jalen Reed, the Green Bay guy. Jaden Reed.
Yeah, Jaden Reed. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a second round pick, but man, what the hell are you guys doing? Like,
Well, I don't know. I think I know there's a lot to do. I know I've heard of a lot of things that early late bloomer.
yeah,
Like
I
he
didn't
was
have him
consistent.
ranked pre-draft, so just because
Like
he got
I'll be
draft
honest.
capital doesn't
Yeah,
mean
I
he's
know.
worth it,
I'll
you know?
yes, I agree. I'll be very honest. I watch a lot of Big Ten football. I
Mhm.
didn't even hear of this guy,
Right.
and Michigan State offense wasn't anything to talk about
Right.
because they had a not a very good quarter.
Sure.
It's their offense was crap, but I don't. Reed was making it that much
Right.
personally.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, that's where yeah, like Mingo, I at least heard about him jumping up draft
yes,
boards at the end of the,
yep,
towards the actual NFL draft. I didn't hear anybody talking about this guy even in
anything.
the top 4 or 5 rounds. So this
Yeah,
one was kind of a shocker, and just cuz he was a second round pick doesn't mean he's going to jump up. I don't even have him ranked here. Like I don't want I will let him go to someone else and blow up for
like,
someone else. Like one, he's got Jordan Love, and we're not talking about him here as someone ranked, but just kind of giving a reason why we don't have him so highly because he was a second round pick. But he's going to go to Jordan Love. We don't know what Jordan Love can do. And there's Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. They took 2 tight ends as
two
well.
two
They've
tight.
got AJ
It was a
Dillon.
very weird. It
Yeah,
was a very
it was
weird
a Packers
draft for
draft,
them.
right? Like it was
It
just a
was
standard
yeah, it
Packers
was,
draft.
but it was just off.
Yeah, I mean, it's typical Packers to double up at a position in the draft at tight end. It's whatever. It's bad. You have a bad general manager, you have a bad front office person, president of Mark Murphy. It's just a bad organization, and they're going to continue to be bad. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But in my tier 4 here, so I have number 1 guy here, Jalen Hyatt.
Hmm.
You kind of laid it out pretty well. And the reason why he's going to be so boom and bust, that's why I dropped him down. And I'd rather have someone like a Cedric Tillman, who I think is going to be a bit more reliable long
Yeah.
term. But the other guy here that I have here, so Tyler Scott with Chicago, Rashee Rice with Kansas City, and
Yep.
Tank Dell with Houston. These are the last
Yep.
couple guys here. Tyler Scott with Chicago. He was a 4th-round pick. I like him a lot because the guy was very talented. I think he played for Cincinnati, if I remember correctly. He
Yeah.
went behind his teammate Trey Turner, who went in the 3rd round to the Vegas Raiders. But this guy was the much better wide receiver on his own team, and he slips. This is why draft capital is not the end all be all. It's the dumbest argument because Trey Turner was a 3rd-round pick. Oh, he's a 3rd rounder. He's safer. Yeah, except he's not even the better wide receiver between him and Tyler Scott. So what are we doing? Just because he went 30 picks higher, 20 picks higher, like who cares? So Tyler Scott, I like him a lot. Him being paired with the one thing is he doesn't have a lot of opportunity early, and then you have the Justin Fields factor. Now, I believe Justin Fields is going to turn around and all of that. Darnell Mooney's getting up there. I don't know if they're going to want to re-sign him. He feels like more of a replacement for Mooney long term, but he's also a
Mhm.
bit of a replacement for someone like Chase Claypool, who has been just bad as well. So they have DJ Moore. They didn't really invest into too many weapons on this team. Both of the weapons I think they got, Roshan Johnson and Tyler Scott, in the 4th round. So, they were trying to get some pieces, but they were waiting on those guys. I think there is opportunity for both of them. So Tyler Scott, I'm willing to invest in the 3rd round. Rashee Rice with the Kansas City Chiefs, was he a 2nd-round pick?
Like I think he was pick 54 and Sky Moore last year was pick 55.
What
So
the Chiefs, man?
it's gonna
The
be interesting. I really I was I was hearing a lot of pre-draft chatter about the Chiefs taking
Yeah,
Zay
Zay Flowers.
Flowers,
Yeah,
which I think Zay Flowers would have been fun, but I don't know
I agree with
about
that
Rasheed.
actually.
And I think Rasheed Rice is he's a big bodied receiver, but not
I'm with you. And we talked about him a long time ago. Like he doesn't have the production. He's a senior in a small conference. It's just everyone's gonna buy into Rashee Rice. I saw someone take him at 112 in the league, like 112. That's wild to me. That is just insane. he's been uniformly my number 12 wide receiver through this entire
Yeah.
process. And, learning from the Clyde Edwards-Helaire piece, I'm not going to over elevate him in my rankings. And then the last guy is going to be Tank Dell. And yeah, Rashee Rice, I like the opportunity, but in the third round, that's good value for that. If you're taking him ahead of that, I think the risk is just way too high. But then, yeah, Tank Dell with Houston, problem is he's tiny. People were very high on him. If you listen to PFF, he was like he should have been a first round pick, which is ridiculous. He's 164 pounds. Like, he's a tiny, tiny guy. But he was a third round pick to Houston. Houston doesn't really have a lot of weapons. Tank Dell is an explosive, shifty type of player. I think that there could be opportunity with CJ Stroud, but, for fantasy, I don't think there's a lot of upside there. So, I'd be willing to take him again in the third round, but anything higher than that, and I'm kind of out personally. So, any thoughts on those guys? Who do you have in your last tier? And then we can jump over to the tight
Yeah.
ends.
Yeah. In my last year, I put Tillman ahead of Rice. I just like Tillman a lot better than Rasheed.
Fair?
And then I have Jaden Reed, I have Tank Dell, and then I have two kind of potential end of the third, probably fourth guys that of like Xavier Hutchinson in the Houston offense, and then A.T.
Yeah.
Perry.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
cannot remember where Perry. I think he went to Wake Forest is where he
Yes. Yep.
went.
Wake Forest. Yep.
And then he got drafted by I think it was by the Jaguars.
Yeah. The one thing with the Jaguars is I'd rather have Parker Washington personally,
Fair
who
enough.
was
Yeah.
who's also someone that they took later on. But
Oh no, he was actually drafted by the Saints. Is why I put him
Saints.
there.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's
That's
that that
interesting.
that was why I put him there.
Okay.
Saints wide receiver.
Yes. Yeah.
I love Chris Olave. I really wish I would have picked him last year in one. I
Sure.
picked I picked I picked Jameson over Olave last year, and I'm myself up about it. But it's gonna be. It's gonna be Olave. It's gonna be Michael Thomas, and then who's gonna be that next guy? And I think it's gonna be A.T. Perry, which he played with. It was a more NFL. It was more of a spread offense
Sure.
at Wake, but I still think he has good skills, and I think he's gonna be a potential wide receiver three. Like a guy that can get
Yeah.
on the field every weekend
Yep.
and really Derek Carr gains a little bit. So
So what you're saying is he's Derek Carr's new Brian Edwards.
he's gonna be more like I think he's gonna be like Hunter Renfro super light.
Okay. All right. So, yeah.
So,
So there's a couple guys here that we just quickly mentioned. So Xavier Hutchinson, I love that value as well. I in the 6th round, I was really hoping he'd go so much higher. I really was.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Kayshon Boutte to New England in the 6th round as well. Kayshon Boutte, if he can
Yeah,
get the off the field stuff together, the guy
you're
has
right.
talent. He definitely has talent, and New England is starved for talent. So, if they can get that out of him, which would be a very New England thing to do, it could be very, very interesting. Parker Washington with Jacksonville, Trey Palmer with Tampa Bay, and then Michael Wilson with the Arizona Cardinals. He's a little bit of a sleeper in my opinion. I think I like this guy a lot there. But yeah, just some other guys here that we'd be willing to take later on in your rookie drafts. Again, I like the depth of this class, but not all of these guys are going to hit, and you just got to be willing to accept that, right? You're not going to, don't reach on the massive question marks like Rashee Rice, right? And Jaden Reed. Don't do that. Go get the more solidified guys, the Mims, the Flowers, the even Jonathan Mingo. He's going to have a massive target share early on, right? He's going to have a role for this offense. So, yeah, that's the one thing. Make sure you're mitigating your risk successfully, but there is so much value even into the 3rd round in this year's draft class. Any last thoughts on the receivers, or you want to jump over to tight end? What was that?
So let's go ahead and jump over to tight ends.
All right, let's go. All right, so, post-draft, everyone loves to take this guy. He's universally like the 110 in every draft that I've done. I've gone through a few rookie drafts, real-life rookie drafts now, not just mocks. And this guy is the universal 110, Dalton Kincaid went to Buffalo. Right around the turn there is Michael Mayer to the Raiders. Sam Laporta went to Detroit, the Detroit Lions. He's kind of a second round player, kind of varies depending on your league settings and everything like that, but usually goes in the second round there. And then that's all my guys for tier one. Individual rankings in tier one, though, I have Michael Mayer as my number one guy still. I think that you pair him with McDaniels and this offense and the fact that he's going to have immediate playtime, right? I like that a lot, especially for a rookie tight end. It means that he's going to see the field. Michael Mayer is a good pass catching option. Now, there's a lot of good pass catching options on this offense, but there's not a good tight end. And that's always been a pivotal role in the McDaniels offense. Dalton Kincaid with Buffalo, they just signed Dawson Knox to a massive 4-year deal. They have Diggs. They have Gabe Davis, who I still believe in a little bit on that side. They have I forget Shakir. Khalil Shakir, is that his name? The guy that they drafted last year for the slot. Dalton Kincaid he's going to have a massive competition for targets over here. So that's why I have him as my number 2 guy. But again, I've universally seen him as the number 1 tight end options. Do you have any thoughts on these two and how you rank them?
Only because I like Buffalo's offense better, and I think they're. I understand that they have Dawson Knox, or yeah, Knox there, but Knox I feel is more of a blocking tight end, and that's kind of what they want him to be. Like they don't really want him to be necessarily the primary tight end pass catcher, and
Sure.
and then and then I feel they're going to throw Kincaid on lot and kind of put him around in different places to be that big bodied wide receiver that Josh Allen kind of wants compared to Stefan Diggs, who is, a still fantastic receiver, but like just a different skill set.
Right.
So, I think that's a very good fit, and I think he could be another safety blanket for Josh Allen. I honestly do love Michael Mayer's landing spot. In being, I do agree with you in saying that, like he's in the perfect offense to be that. It's to be that Gronk type
Yeah.
tight end, I
Yep.
guess you could say. I don't think he's the physical freak Gronk was, but he's still a very very good pass catcher, and I think Josh McDaniels, of the things that he does well, will scheme him.
Right. And then, so yeah, tier number 2 here, basically for me, is Sam Laporta with Detroit.
Same here. Yep, same here.
He's alone in this tier, and he went ahead of Michael Mayer. I thought this was kind of silly, in my opinion. Like him going one
It
spot above
was.
Michael Mayer was kind of dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
I like Sam Laporta too, and he's someone that really rose up draft boards. You know, way back when he was my number 3 tight end, months and months and months ago, and he's never really fallen that far for me. But yeah, he's just someone that I think is going to be very good. It's a very good opportunity. Like he has
Yes.
opportunity right
Yes.
away. And, it's Dan Campbell is a former tight end. So, he's going to try and get the most out of this guy that he can. So I like Sam Laporta. Don't make the mistake that the Detroit Lions did and take him over Michael Mayer, though. I
Yeah,
do
oh, I
believe,
agree. I
yeah,
agree with
especially
that.
for
I
fantasy.
agree. Yes.
Um, all right,
Yes.
so go ahead.
And then I will preface this by saying that be careful where you draft tight end.
Yes. Yep. If it's
In
not tight end
in
premium,
yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, even in tight end premium, it can get a little sticky too,
sure.
because you know hi- because historically rookie tight ends don't score that well or
Yeah.
do as well.
Right.
Usually take a year or two to really develop. I mean, we did have the Kyle Pitts year one, but
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Pitts is a unicorn athlete,
Yeah. Yep.
and and he was the only one on his offense to really do anything, and so I do expect fairly big things from the top,
Right.
and I think they're going to be good, but I expect them to be good probably year two, year three compared to year one, where where like some of these wide receivers and running backs could be better year 1, year 2, year 3.
Yep. I'm with you. I can see that. I do believe that Dalton Kincaid, if you're in a tight end premium, Dalton Kincaid should be a first round pick. Michael Mayer,
Yes. 100
back end first round pick. It's kind
Yes,
of
yes,
positional need at that point.
yeah.
I've seen a lot of people taking Charbonnet or Devin Achane over a Michael Mayer in tight end premium leagues, and I think that's a little crazy personally. But just invest in them a little bit early. But yeah, non tight end premium, I'd probably be willing to take a shot on both of these guys again late first if you really need a tight end. Just because I do believe that Michael Mayer is going to have a role, he's going to have a path to not amazing tight end numbers, but I could see him getting like 50 for 650 yards and 5 touchdowns as a rookie, which is solid for a tight end, right? It's not Travis Kelce numbers, but I think it's solid, right? So if you are desperate at the end of the first round, I could see taking either one of these guys. In a non-tight end premium, Sam Laporta late second or early second for tight end premium. And then the next tier of guys here that I have in a non-tight end premium, I'm probably not drafting them, to be honest with you. There's really no point. There's just no real upside for any of these guys. But Darnell Washington, Luke Musgrave, and Tucker Kraft, these guys were back to back in my rankings post combine, pre-draft, and the Green Bay Packers ended up with Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. So good luck figuring out which one of these two guys to draft. Tight end premium, I've seen these guys go a lot in the 3rd and 4th round.
Fourth round, yeah.
Darnell Washington's universally like a 3rd round pick. That's fine for tight end premium. I'm okay taking the upside, but yeah, Darnell Washington going to Pittsburgh. I understand it from a team perspective. Dude's an amazing blocker. They still have Pat Freiermuth over there, so that's going to limit Darnell Washington's upside. Basically, what you saw at Georgia, you're going to see at Pitt. That's just how it's going to go for Darnell Washington, which means for fantasy, it's probably not going to be great for a while.
It's going to be very limited.
Yeah, he's got the talent that he can break out and have the upside, but yeah, it's gonna be a rough road there. So, any thoughts on these guys? Anyone else you want to throw out? Mention?
Yeah, I think the big thing is going to be picking which Green Bay tight end you like.
Right.
In all honesty, I know a lot of people are really high on Luke. He was a 2nd round pick.
Yep.
But I'm very worried about his injury history.
Yeah.
I'm that's a big red flag for me, and that's why he's my tight end 6. I think I would rather have Tucker Kraft and then Darnell Washington is how I have them.
Sure.
Ranked right now because I think Darnell Washington is going to be the 6th offensive lineman, as he put on his Twitter bio. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't really expect a lot out of Washington. I do expect some out of either Kraft or Mupp, but it because they're going to be they're the only tight ends there.
Sure.
Of in Green Bay's offense, and they're I think they're going to be more run heavy than they were in years past, but they're still going to have to.
Yep, I'm with you. So yeah, that's the tight end position. If you're not getting one of the top 3 guys, it's pretty much it's a crapshoot at that point. Yeah, it sucks. It's such a good tight end class, and they went to the worst situations other than those 3 guys. Like it's just it's rough there. So I was gonna say Darnell Washington, you should really think about transitioning to just right tackle. He should transition to tackle. He'd get paid way more money. He's never gonna really get targeted.
He honestly.
Like he's never gonna get enough targets to justify the tight end money that he's gonna get paid. So he should just transition to tackle, get paid a lot more money because I think he's got the skill set for it, and you saw it in Georgia. So I don't even know if Darnell Washington will be a tight end in 3 years' time. So that's one thing that scares me a little bit there. But all right. So that said, thank you guys for joining us. This is our wide receiver and tight end rankings. Again, we're going to be coming out with a mock draft, either a mock draft or a rookie draft later this week. Either mock or review. We'll figure that out, but that'll be coming out Thursday. Until then, thank you guys for joining us. Hit us up on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale. You can find the podcast on YouTube. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube. If not, go over, like, comment, subscribe on the video. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere that podcasts are found. And again, if you can, just leave a five-star review or any sort of review that helps us out. We're just trying to get it out there in the algorithm to get the podcast to more people, growing all off season long. So thank you guys again for joining us. Until next time, have a good night.